Okay, here are some supplementary notes on posting that should go with your video from yesterday. So there's a 14-minute video that I posted yesterday. If you just look at our class Google Classroom. On May 11th, I said that posting to a ledger, this 14-minute video should be what you watched yesterday. So she shows you how to go from a journal to a ledger. And I'm just going to click into it for a second here and just. So she has the general journal filled out, which you learned how to do a general journal last week. And you had to do debit and credit, and you are actually supposed to have a description with every single one, but I know that on Moodle, they don't tell you that you have to have a description. So you're supposed to have the debit as always first, and then the credit is indented a little bit. And so it goes debit and then credit, and then you're supposed to explain as briefly as possible what happened in that third line. So owner investment means obviously that the owner put $20,000 into the business. So the cash goes up and the capital goes up. And all you have to say is owner investment, and that makes sense. So after you're done your journal, you're going to do this thing called posting to the general ledger. You have to put the account title in and its number, and I'm going to go over the numbering system in this video. So when you post, you do it line by line. So you jump back and forth from the journal to the ledger, journal to the ledger. So I'm just going to click through here and get her to go to. Okay, so you're going to put the date. You don't put a description. The only description we're ever going to put is the opening entry, which I haven't done an example quite like that yet. So then you're going to put the debit amount, and then you put the balance, and then you fill in the post reference column last, and you put J1 because you got it. You got this number, the 500, from journal page 1. That's where you're referring to get all your numbers. And then on the reference column of the journal, you're going to put 110 because that's where you posted it to. So those go hand in hand. They should be filled in last. You should do your post reference column always last. So that's what the ledger looks like. I want to show you that I have put the ledger under classwork. When you click on that tab, then it takes you to blank general ledger. I'm just going to do that before I lose that. Okay, so under classwork, then you have blank general ledger. You're going to click on that. It's a Google Sheet, and then that takes you into here. If you ever need more of these, you copy and paste the last blank one, and you paste more. So I have quite a few there, but if that's not enough, you just copy paste and make yourself more, and then save as, and then that's how you can resubmit it back to me. You can share it with me. So that's the blank ledger. The blank journal, same thing, Google Sheet, and you work with it all in here, which you did last week. So you're going from your journal to your ledger. So I am now going to go back to these notes. I'm going to post these notes today as well. And what's an opening entry? It records all your assets, liabilities, and owner's equity when the business first begins. So I'll show you what that looks like in exercise 8 at the end of this video. For now, we're going to talk about the chart of accounts and how you get their numbers. So on page 118 of your textbook, I actually screenshot this and I put it here as an example of rainbow painting contractors. That's a business. So your assets are always 100s. Your liabilities are always 200s. Owner's equity, 300s. Revenue, 400s. Expenses, 500s. So you start at 100, and most textbooks use 100 as cash. Sometimes you'll see 101. In her video yesterday, she did, oh, that's not the right one. In her video yesterday, she did 101 as cash. Doesn't matter. I always use 100. Then your accounts receivable, 101, 102. But then they skipped a whole bunch before painting supplies, and they picked 131. That's because you might have a lot more people within the month that owe you money. So another person might walk into the store and decide to charge their account. So then you have to open another account, and it would be number 103, and you'd say accounts receivable, K. Weisberg or whatever, whoever it is that owes you money. Okay, then your liability is 200. Yep, start at 200 for accounts payable, that's fine. They left a whole bunch between accounts payable and bank loan because there could be more people that you owe money to. Owner's equity, 300 for capital, 301 for drawings. If there was a second owner, that's what I just said here. If there are multiple owners, the next business partner's account, their capital would be 302, their drawings would be 303. So they kind of stick in order. Revenue, 400s. Just start listing the 400s. The 500s are used for expenses. So you would go 500, 501, 502, 503, whatever. Just one by one is fine. So I'm going to skip to a question now. We're going to do exercise 4C on page 133. So I'm going to scroll down here. Prepare a chart of accounts for Physio Central. Number each of the accounts according to page 118 in your textbook, which is what we just looked at. This chart kind of guides us. So does this, I guess, this paragraph right here. I just typed it. So the accounts found in the ledger are listed in a random order below. Complete this exercise in your notebook. You don't have to do this if you just watch what I'm going to write for my answers. All of these are out of order. So it does not, I need to organize them and put assets first, and then liabilities, and then owner's equity, revenue, and expenses. So I did that before clicking into this video, and I made all my assets purple, all my liabilities red, my owner's equity green, my revenue blue, and my expenses in a darker purple. So, and I separated them with a space there. So going back to this, I used all of those accounts already. I put them in here. Now I'm going to number them. Cash 100, accounts receivable 101. I'm going to skip now to 120 because I could have a whole bunch of people that owe me money for accounts receivable. I just don't see that yet. And I don't know who's going to walk in and want to do a charge account within that month. So I'm going to leave a bunch there. You know what? I could even do 130 just to be safe. And then I could go 131 for the building, 132, 133. Just anything in the 100s, and as long as it's in increasing order. Then for my liabilities, I will go 200. And then I'll go 201. And oh, no, actually I won't. I'll go 230 or 220 because I could have a whole bunch of people that I owe money to as well, which is accounts payable. It's just one general one right now, but I could have like 15 or 20 people that I charge my bill to throughout the month. Mortgage payable, 231 maybe. And that's good, that's the 200s. Capital is always 300 and drawings is always 301. And there's only one owner, so I'm not going to go on to 302 or 303 because I don't need to. 400 for revenue, 401 for the next revenue, 500 for expenses, and then 501, 502, 503. Okay, so my expenses, I just went up by 1 for this entire thing. So that's how you number accounts. And where are those numbers going? In your general ledger. So in your, I'll pull up her video again. In your ledger, right here, that's where you're going to put your account number, right there. So you're going to have a ledger in Google Sheets where you say what all of those numbers are, and you get to decide according to that chart. All right, next. What are the steps in posting? She goes through this in great detail in her 14-minute video yesterday, so I just encourage you to watch the video and follow these steps. You do the date. You have to set it up. Okay, account name and the number. Then the date. Complete the explanation section. Not really. You leave that blank. The only thing you put in there is opening entry. only on the opening entry. Then record the amount as a debit or credit, calculate the balance, and then fill out the post-reference column. So the biggest thing with a ledger is that it shows you an updated balance of that account at any given time. That's the advantage of it. The journal doesn't. You just journalize every transaction each day, but you don't know what that account is at for a balance. But the general ledger allows you to know exactly the balance of that account any given day of the month. All right, we're going to do we're going to go to page 135 and exercise 8. It's an opening entry in a journal. So if you're following along on our Google Classroom, you would go to General Journal, open this up, and then you would start doing this entry based on this question. Ricardo Lopes opened an insurance agency on October 1st with the following assets and liabilities. He has cash, equipment, building, land, bank loan, and a mortgage. Record the opening entry for the business in a general journal, and remember that your entry must balance. So the trickiest thing here is that, well, there's two tricky things. Number one, it's not in order. That's not how I would do it as an entry. Yeah, okay, I guess that doesn't matter too much actually, because that's a debit, a debit, a debit, a debit, and then I switch over to a credit and a credit. So here's what it looks like. I put my cash and my land and my building and equipment, and those are all my debits. So they should go on the debit side. Then I do my bank loan and my mortgage payable and my capital indented, and they go on the credit side. However, this capital, they didn't say anything about that in the question. And that's why it's tricky, because it says, remember that your entry must balance. So I'm going along my way, doing my opening entry, put all my debits, then I put my 2 credits. Then I have to realize, well, they had to open with capital because they started the business. So there is capital, but what is that amount? I go add, 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 add. So I add all of those ones and I get 258,000. And then I add my liabilities and I get 73,000. And I find the difference there. It's 185,000. So that's what my capital is for starting, 185,000. Then my explanation is called opening entry. That's all you have to say, opening entry. But now if I were to go and put these into a ledger, I would have to open a blank ledger, start editing this, and I'm going to put all of these. I am going to start putting all of these accounts in my ledger, and then I post them one at a time according to her video like yesterday. So I would type in cash, then I would say account number 100, and then I would go line by line and take it from here and go cash, put that in for 2,500. October 1st. This one I actually do say opening entry because it's an opening entry. Don't fill the post reference in yet. 2,500. Enter. What's the balance? 2,500. Hasn't changed. And then the post reference column. Here's where I put J1 because I was on journal page 1 right there. Post reference 100. There. That's me doing the first line completely. That's me posting it from the journal to the ledger. And it's done. Then I move on to the next line. So land, which I would obviously have to make a land ledger for. So the start of a question will tell you what accounts you need to open in here. And you only have to fill in the explanation section when it's an opening entry. All the rest will just be blanks. So I might have something else happen on October 4th. Actually, that is supposed to go here, 4. And that is supposed to just have October. Oh my goodness. Okay, that and then a 1. There would be nothing there. There'd be something there, and there'd be something there, and there'd be something there. So other than the opening entry, you don't need to have any explanation filled in. Okay, I think that's it for now, and then I will give you a question to do.